Expulsion, we hear a loud voice in heaven proclaiming victory in Revelation 12 verses 10 to 12. Sarah, what's significant about this proclamation, and why does it include both celebration and a warning?
The proclamation in Revelation 12 verse 10 celebrates the establishment of God's kingdom and Christ's authority, marking Satan's defeat as the accuser who previously had access to heaven's courts. However, Revelation 12 verse 12 contains a sobering warning that the devil has come down to earth with great wrath, knowing his time is short. This explains the intense persecution and tribulation that follows.
Sarah, in Revelation 12 verses 13 to 14, we see the dragon pursuing the woman who is given eagle's wings to escape. Could you explain the symbolism of these wings in the time period mentioned as time, times, and half a time?
The eagle's wings in Revelation 12 verse 14 represent God's supernatural protection, reminiscent of Exodus 19 verse 4, where God carried Israel on eagle's wings. The period, time, times, and half a time equals 3.5 years, corresponding to the 1,260 days mentioned earlier. This time frame appears repeatedly in prophetic literature, particularly in Daniel, and represents the period of intense persecution during the Great Tribulation.
In Revelation 12 verse 15, we see the serpent spewing water like a river to sweep away the woman. Sarah, what does this symbolize, and how does it relate to Satan's strategies against God's people?
The flood from the serpent's mouth in Revelation 12 verse 15 likely represents Satan's attempts to destroy God's people through overwhelming opposition, whether through persecution, false teaching, or other forms of spiritual warfare. However, Revelation 12 verse 16 shows the earth helping the woman by swallowing the river, indicating God's providential protection of his people even through natural means.
Sarah, the chapter concludes in Revelation 12 verse 17 with the dragon's war against the rest of the woman's offspring. Who are these offspring, and what characterizes them?
The offspring mentioned in Revelation 12 verse 17 are identified as those who keep God's commands and hold to the testimony of Jesus. This refers to faithful believers throughout history who face Satan's opposition. Their dual characteristics of obedience to God's commands and maintaining their testimony about Jesus show that true faith combines both belief and action.
Let's explore the historical context of this chapter, Sarah. How would the first century Christians have understood these visions, particularly in light of their persecution under Rome?
The original readers of Revelation 12 would have found great comfort in this message, Tom. Living under Roman persecution, they would have identified with the woman being pursued by the dragon. The victory proclaimed in Revelation 12 verse 11, where believers overcome by the blood of the Lamb and their testimony, would have strengthened their resolve to remain faithful even in the face of death.
Sarah, this chapter seems to present a comprehensive view of spiritual warfare throughout history. How does it connect Satan's original rebellion with his ongoing opposition to God's people?
You're right, Tom. Revelation 12 provides a sweeping narrative that connects Satan's primordial rebellion to his continuous warfare against God's people. The dragon's attempt to devour the child in Revelation 12 verse 4 parallels Herod's attempt to kill Jesus, showing how spiritual opposition manifests in historical events. This pattern continues today as Satan wages war against believers, though his ultimate defeat is certain.
This chapter has significant implications for believers today, Sarah. What practical applications can we draw from these visions regarding spiritual warfare and perseverance?
Revelation 12 teaches us several crucial lessons, Tom. First, from verse 11, we learn that victory comes through Christ's blood and our faithful testimony. Second, verses 6 and 14 show that God provides protection for his people during trials. Finally, verse 17 reminds us that faithfulness to God will attract opposition, but we can stand firm knowing that Satan is already a defeated foe.
Sarah, looking at this chapter as a whole, what would you say are the key takeaways for our listeners today?
The main takeaways, Tom, are first, that spiritual warfare is real and ongoing, as shown throughout Revelation 12. Second, God's protection of his people is assured, even in the midst of persecution. Third, victory is already secured through Christ, though we must remain faithful. Finally, we can take comfort in knowing that Satan's time is limited and his defeat is certain.
Join us next time as we explore Revelation chapter 13.